Chapter 23. How to reach the leaders. You often hear it said that the leaders of big business never read circulars, that they would be too busy to glance at them even if you could camouflage them sufficiently to get them past the private secretary's desk. If that be true, pause for a moment to sympathize with the McGraw-Hill Publishing Company, who undertook in the fall of 1929 to launch a weekly intended only for high executives of big business concerns, for which is harder to find a salesman who can penetrate those august sanctums, or to write a letter that will reach all the way to the top of a big business? As if they had not already attempted the impossible, the McGraw-Hill Company undertook not only to reach the topmost figures in the world of business but to land nearly half of them. They guarantee to have on their subscription lists by January 1931, 75,000 high executives of companies rated $75,000 or better. Quality circulation has been attempted oftentimes in the past, but never on such a scale as this. Heretofore, the only index of quality was the content of the paper and the cost of the subscription. Anyone who had the price and cared to read it was welcomed as a subscriber. Here for the first time was a concern actually refusing orders, accompanied by cash that did not measure up to the standard they had set. Of all the publishing problems we have seen, that was the most difficult to get. From a possible 200,000 leaders of big business, 75,000 subscribers to a business paper. That it was done, and in so short a time, is a publishing achievement unequaled in its field. Do not imagine we are handing bouquets to ourselves. We did not come into the picture until the job was more than half done. But even our part was sufficiently interesting. When we were given charge of the mail order requirements, the cream had already been skimmed of the list with 2 good mailings. Further tests had shown little or no life. So to get some line on the efficacy of different appeals, we were all load at the start to test a few outside lists of high quality in order to see how results compared with similar tests mailed to what was left of the 200,000 names of top executives, which the McGraw-Hill Company had compiled at great expense. These 200,000 executives, remember, were the presidents, vice presidents, secretaries, treasurers, general managers and directors of companies rated at $75,000 and better. All were people who are not supposed to read circulars. All were supposed to have private secretaries intelligent enough to keep such trivial matters as magazine solicitations away from their desks. So to give them some excuse for regarding our message as one of import, we filled in each man's name and sent the letters first class. To get an idea of the most effective line of appeal, we tried 6 different letters, testing each on the list of business executives as well as on such lists as subscribers to financial services, buyers of business books that would interest only men high in business, and readers of magazines with a specialized business appeal. All 6 of the letters did well and 2 pulled remarkably good returns. On the outside lists, 1 letter pulled more than 9% of orders, another over 8%, while 5% and 6% were little more than average. Even on the list of executives, 1 pulled 3%, a second close to it, while the third went over 2%. Here are 3 of the letters, together with the folder that went with them. The folder is a bit crude. We had no time to wait for regular artwork as we were anxious to get our tests out by a certain date. So we took what we could get in a hurry. To cause one of your employees to lose his job is not my intention. But if any one of your employees has my job, then it isn't his. Every man has a place somewhere. And I want my own. If you have assistants summarizing the news of business for you, who are not among the greatest experts in the basic lines of industry, then they have my job, and their job is somewhere else. If you have accountants figuring estimates and quotas, who are not authorities on economic trends, then they have my job, and their work is something else again. If you have secretaries to save your time, who cannot interpret the effect of the day's news upon your business and investments, who cannot check the truth or falsity of each dispatch, then they have my job, and their time would be better spent on other duties. You see, I am the keystone of the arch of all the McGraw-Hill publications, with 34 different staffs of editors working for me, each a recognized authority in some basic field of industry, with engineers and financial experts and economists of world renown laying their findings upon my desk. I am the Business Week. I watch the world for you and bring you accurate, authoritative reports on every thing of note in the basic industries and the happenings of business. Is there a flurry on the Tokyo Exchange? I give you its probable effect upon the financial situation here. Is there a strike in France, a new cartel in Germany, a hurricane in Chile? I show you their extent, analyze their effect. I have unparalleled connections in industry, commerce, construction, engineering, finance, the basic activities. I have my fingers on the pulse of every important line of business. I feel the first symptoms of fever. I detect the first signs of recovery. I am reporter, interpreter, and business analyst. You are paying for my services whether you use them or not, but you are paying in lost time, in needless mistakes and worries. No busy man needs to spend hours on newspapers or business reviews if he reads my ticker-like summaries and analysis of the news. No executive needs to hesitate or worry about the effect of different events upon his business if he has before him the interpretations of my staffs of experts. Will you try me for a while with the privilege of firing me any time at your own pleasure? My salary? You'll smile when you hear it 10 cents a week, for as long or as short a time as you care to keep me on your payroll. But if you're like Andrew Mellon, Owen D. Young, David Samoff, Louis F. Swift, and other big business leaders, you'll be paying me that salary for a long time too. Come, for you'll find me the most invaluable assistant you've ever had. Will you let me show you what I've done for them, what I can do for you? Then put your name on the enclosed card. It's already stamped. Thank you. Sincerely. What is the unpardonable sin in business? What one thing inevitably brings its own punishment? What most surely spells extinction? Complacency, becoming so self-satisfied with methods or product or service that you stop trying to better them, stop reaching outside for new ideas. The only sure thing in business today is change. Money, organization, a dominant position in the industry, these may vanish overnight. Some new invention, some drastic change in style or trends may leave high and dry those unwilling or unready to keep in step with the demands of the moment. But to the man whose finger is on the pulse of conditions, such changes spell not disaster, but opportunity. He has the advantage of days or weeks of preparation. He knows how similar conditions have been met elsewhere, and he can draw upon the experience of dozens of authorities in arranging his own campaign. It is for such alert, up-and-coming businessmen that the Business Week is written. It watches the whole world for you and brings you accurate news of every important happening in the basic industries. Not merely news so fresh that it is frequently in advance of the newspaper dispatches, but what that news means to your business, as interpreted by a group of economists and editors second to none anywhere. You see, the Business Week is the keystone of the whole arch of the 34 McGraw-Hill publications. 34 staffs of experts, watching hourly for significant developments in the basic fields of industry, reporting their findings to one master group who analyze them, correlate them, and then interpret them in terms of their effect upon your business. If your reading time is limited, if you have more publication now than you have time to get through, send for the Business Week. If you want only real news, authoritative news, each fact-checked by experts, send for the Business Week. It summarizes the news for business. It gives you the things you must know, tersely, pointedly, authoritatively. Then interprets the effect they will have upon all business. A secretary who could do this for you would be worth any money you could pay him. We offer you 34 staffs of secretaries, each among the greatest authorities in their particular line, for 10 cents a week. Will you risk 10 cents to let them show you how much they can save you, how many different ways they can increase your dividends? Just your name on the enclosed card will put them on your staff for as long or as short a time as you may wish. You can fire them any time. On that understanding, will you give them a chance to show you what they can do now? Sincerely. Have you tried the new K.M.H. yardstick in your organization? It is based, on what an employee does in 1,000 working hours, and the results it has shown in some 14,000 plants have uncovered astounding inequalities of management. Companies in the same line of industry show an average variation of 13 to 1. While the best plants sometimes produce 20 times as much per worker as the least efficient organizations doing the same work. Can you wonder that so many organizations are finding it hard sledding now? Can you see how some of them make a profit even in the best of times? But the remarkable part is yet to come. In 35 out of 53 industries, the prize for highest rate of production went not to any of the giants of that industry, with all their money and fine equipment, not even to the medium-sized plants, but to the smallest company in each group. In only 3 industries did the largest company show the highest rate of output. In most of the others, the little fellows produced more goods per hour and at a lower cost than any of the great giants. If business concerns were rated, not by their capital or promptness in paying bills, but by the K.M.H. yardstick, how would yours stand? Could you get a GAA rating? If you could, or if you are even interested in getting such a rating, then you are the type of manager the Business Week is looking for. For your reading time is limited. You already have more publications than you can get through. Yet you must keep up with what is new in business. And you must know how the news of the day is going to affect you and your interests. Only in the Business Week can you find the answer. The Business Week is the keystone of the arch of all the 34 McGraw-Hill publications. Every hour of every day, in each of the 100 and more basic industries represented by these 34 magazines, scores of experts are busy digging out the significant happenings and analyzing their effects every day. The gist of their findings, together with the cabled news from all parts of the world, is scrutinized by the trained economists and editors of the Business Week, and the results summarized for American business. The readers of the Business Week have no time for long articles or interesting theories. They want the facts, summarized in the fewest words. They want them interpreted in terms of their own business, but first they want them verified. The McGraw-Hill organization, with its 34 different magazines in the basic fields of industry, is in better position, we believe, to gather the facts and to verify them than any group in the world today. It gives you, in the pages of the Business Week, the net result of all its vast activities. And it gives them to you not the week after or the next month, but frequently before even they appear in the newspaper dispatches. How much would such a ticker service be worth to you? Would you be willing to pay 10 cents a week for it, with the privilege of stopping it any time you saw fit? Then use the enclosed card to start it now. You'll never invest any money that will pay you bigger dividends. Sincerely. 9% on one letter would be enough to make almost anyone we have known stretch a point to work that list into his schedule, but not these people. 9%, or 6, they knew only one standard: the leaders of business in America. When they analyzed the returns from our tests and found that no outside list could measure up to the standard they had set, they simply ruled them out, and nothing we could say about costs or percentages seemed to make even a dent in their consciousness. So we had to content ourselves with 2 and 3% when all those high-powered lists were just begging to be used. But we did not give up hope of hitting some high percentages, even if we had to do it on the business executive list. One of the offers that had been used with reasonable success before we came was a special introductory offer of 17 weeks for $1. We tried 2 or 3 of these, and in one of them we at least partly realized our ambition. We brought the number of orders up to 7%. Here is the letter that did it, followed by another that pulled very well. 2. I'm going to send you, within the next few days, a forecast of what's coming in business. This forecast is unlike any you have seen before because 1. It is based not merely on government statistics, Federal Reserve, Stock Exchange and Trade Association figures, but on the findings of 34 groups of independent investigators, in closest touch with the basic industries. 2. Back of these investigators is the McGraw-Hill organization, with its unparalleled connections in business, constructions, finance, and the basic industries, and its reputation for careful investigations and accurate authoritative findings. 3. It dares to make definite predictions of what's coming in business, then shows you why it feels so safe in forecasting this. It is, perhaps, less a forecast than an explanation of the underlying trends and an interpretation of what they indicate. I'm going to send this forecast or interpretation to you with no obligation on your part for you to read and actually put to the test in your own business. There's only one thing: I don't want to send it until I am sure you are interested in seeing it. I don't want to send it without your permission, but you can give that in a moment on the enclosed card. When I send you this forecast, there's absolutely no obligation on your part to pay for it. You need not even return it. Just notify us in the stamped, addressed envelope which we will mail you. You want no more, and that ends the matter. You see, this forecast and interpretation of business conditions is an essential part of the Business Week, the keystone of the whole McGraw-Hill organization, with its 34 publications serving the basic lines of industry, with all the usual indicators and business services at its command, and with, in addition, 34 staffs of specialists searching the basic fields of industry for every event of import and interpreting those events in terms of their effect upon business. It would be strange if the Business Week could not give you something unusual in the way of an interpretation of trends and conditions, a forecast based upon them. That interpretation and forecast is a part of every copy of the Business Week. It is being more widely quoted than anything of its kind in the country. As Paul Aldrich of the National Provisioner writes, the Business Week is not only the best of its kind, but the first. I could not do without it. The best thing that could happen to business would be for every man to read and take to heart the material in the Business Week. Will you try it at least long enough to read next week's forecast and interpretation of conditions? Its price is 15 cents a copy, $5 a year, but if you mail the enclosed card now, you can get the special trial rate of 17 weeks for $1. Not only that, but if the very first copy does not intrigue your interest, make you want to follow those forecasts through, check them against results in your own business, you can cancel your order right then, there, and owe us nothing. On that basis, will you mail the enclosed card? On that understanding, will you risk a look at the next forecast? Sincerely yours. How's business, Mr. Jones? Heavy construction will equal last year's, judging by bonds issued. Bonds, you know, usually precede steam shovels by about 4 months. Retail selling is holding up well, thanks to the reductions which are finally beginning to percolate through to the consumer. And installment sales are proving, instead of a weakness, one of the greatest factors of strength. An interesting development is the sale of their own brand of tires at all their gas stations by the Standard Oil Company of NJ. They have a great distribution machine, geared to reach the motorist at the time he needs it most. Why not use it to the full? How far that will take them, no one can guess, but it seems to point in the same direction as Ford's experiment of a couple of years ago, when he opened his commissary to the public and undersold even the chain stores by 20% to 40%. The drought in the West is the worst in years. Corn prices have responded to it, but wheat still sags. Why? You'd think the Farm Board would take advantage of such a situation to support the price of wheat, just as you'd expect the Federal Reserve to be putting more money into the market to stimulate flagging trade. Those are the only two serious clouds on the horizon. They are the only two obstacles that stand in the way of a return to normal business by early fall. They can not permanently hold back the flooding tide, but they can retard it a lot. Of course, that doesn't mean everything is rosy, or we can sit back and take it easy. On the contrary, there has seldom been a period which called for greater foresight and managerial judgment. Have commodity prices hit bottom? How about labor? Is it coming down? What are other countries doing? Germany, for instance. What happened to her big idea of cutting wages and prices simultaneously, so her home workers would not suffer, but she could undersell everybody in world markets? These are just a few of the questions every keen executive is asking. And these are the questions the Business Week answers for you better, we believe, than all the SARE vices and statistics and bulletins issued the country over. You see, the Business Week is the keystone of the whole McGraw-Hill organization. With its 34 publications serving the basic lines of industry, its 34 staffs of specialists searching their fields for every happening of import, then interpreting those happenings in terms of their effect upon business, commerce and reserve statistics. Help, of course, as do the bulletins of the various trade organizations and business services, but they are mere sidelights compared to the first-hand information constantly going across our desks from the direct contacts of our 34 staffs in the field. What would their forecasts and interpretation of conditions be worth to you? Would you be willing to risk $1 for them? If you would, then send the enclosed card. Without money. It will bring you for 17 weeks the interpreted news of the Business Week. It will give you not statistics, not a lot of unrelated facts, but what is really happening in business, the events of import and their effect upon you. Would you be willing to risk $1 for that? Then mail the enclosed card now while the tide is at the turn. Sincerely. In the early days of the magazine, quite a few of these introductory subscriptions had been taken and now they were beginning to expire. So it was necessary to write letters that would renew as many as possible of these. We tried a number and finally worked out a series of 5 that did very well. The following 2 alone renewed 20% of the subscriptions on which they are sent. Just a few weeks more, and then, right in the middle of one of the most important crises in business history, just at the time when conditions are coming to a head for better or for worse, your subscription expires. 4,000 years ago, King Darius of Persia could get 1 ounce of gold for every 12 ounces of silver he held in such quantities in his treasury. On down through the centuries since, those proportions have held with reasonable steadiness. Brian put up his famous fight to standardize silver at 16:1. Today those proportions have changed so greatly that 1 ounce of gold buys 60 ounces of silver. What does that do to countries like India which are on a silver basis? What does it do to business here? Last year this time most anyone could show a profit. People who knew nothing of general trends or conditions made money, because business conditions made it for them. But this year, only those skilled in reading signs are showing a profit, and to these weather-wise souls, the Business Week is like manna to wanderers in a desert. For the Business Week watches the world of business for you. It brings you accurate news of every important happening in the basic industries. And not merely news so fresh that it is frequently in advance of the newspaper dispatches, but what that news means to your business, as interpreted by a group of economists and editors, whose authority is second to none anywhere. You see, the Business Week is the keystone of the whole arch of the 34 McGraw-Hill publications. 34 staffs of experts, watching the significant developments in 34 basic fields of industry, reporting them daily, hourly, to a master group who analyze them, correlate them and then interpret them in terms of their effect upon your business. Not even Andrew Mellon, with all his vast interests, had such a service until the McGraw-Hill organization started it a year ago. Yet today you can have that service for only 10 cents a week, and one of the first subscribers for it was Andrew Mellon, Secretary of the Treasury of the United States. When such men as he, and Owen D. Young, and David Samoff, and Louis E. Swift, men with whole corps of secretaries and assistants at their elbows, still find they can get their most thorough summaries, their most accurate interpretations of the business news, from the Business Week, I know you, too, will agree that it is as great a time saver, as valuable a moneymaker, for you as for them. Worth risking 10 cents a week for, anyway, don't you think? And that's all you ever have to risk, for you can stop at any time, for any reason, and get the balance of your subscription back in full. On that basis, will you mail the enclosed card? On that basis, will you join in Drew Mellon and Owen Young and David Samoff and Louis Swift in keeping up to the minute on the news of business, and what those news mean in terms of your business? The enclosed card is your answer. Will you mail it now today? Sincerely. Dear subscriber, is your name and address, as given above, correct? If so, won't you be good enough to return the enclosed card, properly checked, so that we may prove or correct our stencil? Right now, with business at the turning point, it is more important that you keep your finger on the pulse of conditioning than for years past. Never before has business recovered from a major depression until both prices and wages had been drastically cut. Can it do it this time? Henry Ford believes it can. Without wages being cut, and he has backed that belief by actually raising wages in his plants. As far as his own business is concerned, the result has proven him right, for he is getting out 9,200 cars a day now with 108,890 men, where a year ago it took 120,000 men to produce only 7,500 cars a day. What is more, he and Chevrolet are dividing 65% of the country's automobile business. But how about other businesses? How about your own? Will you have to cut prices and wages? And how much? Will the basic industries cut their figures? Enough to save your line of profit. These are facts you must know, and nowhere can you get them so promptly, so authoritatively, as in the Business Week. You see, the Business Week has back of it the tremendous resources of the whole McGraw-Hill organization, with 34 publications serving the basic lines of industry. Not John D. Rockefeller himself, with all his millions, not Andrew Mellon. With the resources of the U.S. Treasury behind him, has the means of analyzing basic conditions and interpreting the business news that these great staffs of experts, engineers, economists, and financial specialists give to us. As a matter of fact, Andrew Mellon was one of the first subscribers to this new service. He and Owen D. Young and David Sarnoff and Louis F. Swift. When such men, with all their corps of secretaries and assistants, look to the Business Week for their interpretation of the events of the day, it surely ought to be worth all of 10 cents a week to you too, don't you think? Just your name on the enclosed card, with a check mark to show that we have your address correct. We'll keep that ticker-like service coming to you each week, bringing you the news in brief, and not merely the news, but what it means to you. I know you don't want to miss even a single one of those meaty, thought-provoking paragraphs now, of all times, when seemingly innocuous news dispatches often hide so much of potent meaning. Won't you, therefore, mail the enclosed card at once? Then I can get your stencil back in its place on the list without the loss of even a single issue. Sincerely. That pretty well took care of the number of subscriptions we were expected to write by mail on the Business Week magazine. Our next problem was to write a higher percentage of mail subscriptions for System, the Journal of Modern Business Management. It was a simpler problem, for with it we were permitted to use the better grade of outside lists like buyers of business books, subscribers to financial services, buyers of courses in business management and the like. With those lists to work upon, we tried the following letter. Your personality and business trait analyzed. Have you ever been officially rated for personality and business traits? For your capacity to achieve, for your power, pressure, or ambition, for your ability to direct your energies into the most productive channels? Have you ever longed for a frank consultation with an expert business psychologist who could show you how to make the most of your abilities? The Carnegie Foundation, after a thorough study, reported that even in such technical lines as engineering, medicine, and law, success is due only 15% to actual knowledge. 85% depends upon your personality and the way it expresses itself. Have you ever been officially rated for personality? Professor H.K. Nixon, Ph.D., head of a department in one of the great Eastern universities, author of numerous books and articles on the application of psychology to business, consultant for several large business organizations, has worked out a series of questions and tests that will astonish you by the hidden traits they bring out. He calls it his capacity achievement inventory. It reveals with uncanny cleverness your strong and weak points, helps you find the ways in which you are Misdirecting your energies suggests the salient points in your personality that lend themselves to greater development. If you consulted Dr. Nixon privately, you would probably expect to pay from $15 to $25 for this information, and consider it cheap at the price. If you will mail the enclosed certificate at once, you can get this personality test and analysis without charge. So important are the qualifications uncovered by this test that we have arranged with Dr. Nixon for a series of short articles running through the next 6 issues of System, the Journal of Modern Business Management, each explaining a different aspect of mental equipment and its relation to business success, together with methods for gauging personal and business qualifications. These articles and methods will show you simple ways to determine how well you rate with your associates, with your customers, with all whose opinions count in the making of your success. They will in turn increase your ability to rate and to understand others. But the first step in getting an unbiased picture of your own qualifications and capacities is the Capacity Achievement Inventory, and this the enclosed certificate will bring to you at once. Every test will be individually rated by Dr. Nixon and his associates. You will receive a rating chart, showing your standing in each part of the test, together with suggestions as to the significance of the various scores, and how best to develop the traits they indicate. Men are made, declared Emerson, each with some triumphant superiority. Men are made that way, but most never discover what their superiority is, so they go on being a square peg in a round hole to the end of their days. The Capacity Achievement Inventory will give you a measure of your present capacities and the extent to which you are using them, and it may uncover hidden powers in yourself that you never even suspected you had. Send now the enclosed certificate, with a dollar bill in payment for the next 6 copies of System, the Journal of Modern Business Management. By return mail, the first copy will come to you, together with the Capacity Achievement Inventory. Fill it out frankly and honestly, with a full assurance that everything in it will be regarded as confidential by Dr. Nixon and his associates. They will study it, rate it, and report to you just as soon as they can possibly do so. But remember, this means work and a lot of it for them. And there is a very distinct limit to the number they can handle. So we must confine this offer strictly to those who mail the enclosed certificate at once. You see, we cannot limit the offer to any special subscribers. It is part of System's service, and therefore open to all subscribers. Your advantage lies in the fact that this is an advance notice, and if acted on at once, ensures you a prompt rating. Certificates which come late will be returned at once with the dollar eyes accompanying them. That pulled remarkably well. It gave us 6% from the business book buyers. Better than 5% from the students of business management courses, and as high as 10% from one list of men interested in psychology. In the days before the McGraw-Hill Company had taken it over, System had usually been sold with a premium. The McGraw Company feel, however, that the best premium you can offer any subscriber is something in the magazine itself, so they suggested that we try featuring series of articles on different subjects that were to appear in forthcoming issues of the magazine and see if subscription could not be sold on the strength of them. We tried this, selling some special content of the magazine for the next 6 months or year in much the same way we would have described what was in a premium book we were offering, and found we could get as good returns by putting our premium in the magazine as by offering it separately. We took half a dozen excerpts from the early chapters of this book, for instance, worked them into articles to run in the magazine, and then sold the series as part of System with as great success as ever. In the old days, it had been possible to sell System with a premium. Here are the 2 letters that did it. When a man can turn an $80,000 loss of June 1st into a $121,000 net profit as of December 31st, entirely with letters. When he can sell, by mail, $3 million worth of traveling bags, take 400,000 pairs of returned silk stockings at their regular dealer's price and dispose of them, by mail, at a profit. When he can increase gross sales in 3 years' time from $2 million a year to $6 million a year for one concern, and then go and do just as big a job for two other companies in different lines of business, and all through the right use of good letters. Then there must be something so fundamentally sound about his way of writing and using letters that it would pay you as a businessman to know what it is. If you could get this man to analyze his most successful letters, if you could induce him to point out the features that made them pull such enormous volume of orders, if you could persuade him to show you how those same factors could be applied to the sale of your products, the collection of your accounts, there is no price in reason you would not be willing to pay for this service, is there? Well, that is exactly what he has undertaken to do in a series of articles in Sis. Tem analyze his strongest appeals, point out the factors that made them pay, and show how you can use those same factors and same appeals to increase the pulling power of your letters. His name is Robert Collier, and he has been selling by mail for 20 years. In that time, he has sold considerably more than $20 million worth of goods by mail. He was the first to sell the famous 5-foot shelf of books by mail. He sold $2 million worth of O. Henry stories, over $3 million worth of Wells' outline of his Tory, millions of dollars worth of all manner of products from coal and coke to ladies' dresses and men's socks. And now he has put the meat of his experience into a series of articles for System, the Journal of Modern Business Practice. And not the experience only, but actual examples of the way to apply it. A clearer, more instructive lot of articles on how to make your letters bring back bigger returns would be hard to find. Will you try them? 3 of these valuable articles have already appeared in System, and the demand for them was so great that we had to reprint 4,000 copies. Of those 4,000, less than 600 are now left. If you mail the enclosed card right away without money, we will send you one of those reprints with your first copy of System, containing the current article. If you like it, if you feel, as we do, that these articles alone will be worth to you a lot more than the subscription price of the whole magazine, send us $1 at the end of 30 days, and $1 a month for 4 months to cover the special price of the next 24 issues. Otherwise, you can mail us 25 cents for the copy you receive, and cancel the balance of the subscription. Fair enough? Then jot down your name and position on the enclosed card and drop it in the mail. But please do it now if you want to get a reprint of the first 3 articles. These first articles contain some of the most important essentials of resultful letters in the whole series, so don't miss them. The card is already stamped. All you need to do is put your name on it and drop in the mail. What is there about some letters that makes them so much more effective than others? A letter may have perfect diction, finished style, it may follow all the rules, yet the orders it brings back will be scarce as oysters in the stew at a church supper. Why? Because writing letters that bring home the bacon is like fishing, it's not a matter of rules, but of bait. Do you know how to bait your hook for orders, swarms of orders all coming by mail? That is the secret of selling by mail. That is the secret we have prevailed on Robert Collier to reveal in a series of articles, starting in the next issue of System, the Journal of Modern Business Management. Robert Collier is the man who started the sale by mail of Dr. Eliot's famous 5-foot shelf of books, who followed that by selling a couple of $1 million worth of O. Henry stories in 2 years, and then some $3 million worth of Wells' outline of history. Lest you think his methods good only for selling books, he took over the writing of the copy for a mail order house, and in 7 months' time turned an $80,000 loss into a net profit of $121,000. In the next 3 years he increased their gross sales of men's furnishings, traveling bags, and the like from $2 million a year to better than $6 million. He has taken such different lines as a coal mine and a ladies' dress establishment, and by applying the same fundamental rules of baiting the hook to both, he has made them eminently successful. Now he has put those fundamentals into a series of articles that not only show you what they are, but how and why they work. You see, Collier is primarily a student of human reactions. He doesn't study merchandise, he studies man. He may know very little about the product he is offering, But he makes it his business to know all about the people he is offering it to. That is why his fundamentals apply just as well to ladies' dresses as to coal, to traveling bags and men's shirts. As to books, will you read the first of those fundamentals? The enclosed card brings it to you. In the next issue of System, send for it, try it. If you don't feel that Collier's secrets of mail selling will alone be worth the entire subscription to System, send us only 25 cents to pay for the one copy and cancel the rest of your subscription. That's fair enough, I think you'll agree. If the first article doesn't make you feel that you must have the whole series, cancel your order, pay 25 cents for the one you receive, and that ends it. But if you want even to see that first article, you'll have to mail the enclosed card right away. We print only 1,000 extra copies of each issue. When they are gone, subscriptions have to start with the next one. So if you want to see the first and most important of Collier's fundamentals, put your name on the enclosed card and mail it right away. That question answered, we set about seeing whether we could not step up the percentage of subscribers who renewed their subscriptions at expiration, and found that by depending less upon notices that their subscription was about to expire and more upon reselling them on what the coming issues would do for them, we were able to just about double our percentage of renewals. To do this, we used a series of 6 letters. Here are 2 typical ones. What size hat do you wear? Is it one any other man in the organization could clap on his head and never notice the difference, or would it come down over the ears of most and leave them looking like would-be clowns? In every successful organization is at least one man whose place no one else can fill. He may be back of the selling policy. He may be the heart of the collection or merchandising end. But wherever he is, the success of the business turns on him. Such a man usually has 2 things. First, ideas. Second, the tact and finesse to put those ideas across. Lots of men have good ideas. The difference between the wide-awake, progressive thinker and one who is looked upon as an unsound radical lies more often than not in the way each presents his plan. The one feeds it out only as fast as his associates can digest it, the other tries to ram it whole down his hearers' throats. In System, the Journal of Modern Business Management, you get only those sound ideas which have been proven good in other organizations. You get hints for adapting those ideas to your work, and you get the authoritative backing often needed to sell a new idea to your organization. In short, you get the means of becoming the idea man of your concern, the one about whom all the activities of the company revolve. To such a man, the question is not what size hat do I wear, but how big a one can fill. Whatever your answer to that question now, it will be a lot better answer a year from now, if meantime you have added to your own original ideas the proven methods of other successful idea men from the pages of System. I know you won't want to miss a single one of those timely suggestions now. Of all times, when a new collection method, a new sales plan or money-saving idea may make all the difference between red ink and black on your monthly profit and loss statement. No need to write a line. Just your penciled OK on the enclosed card will continue your name for the next 12 issues. Will you jot that down now and drop the card in the mail? Then the days may come and the weeks may go, but you'll be sure of your grist of workable plans each month just as surely as the mailman comes round. Send no money, just the card. But to keep your name in its proper place on the list, you will have to mail that card right away. Sincerely. Dear subscriber, would you risk $1 for the most effective collection letter we have ever seen? A letter that brought in 85% of all past due money when every other appeal had failed? Would you chance $1 to see a sales letter that pulled literally hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of direct orders? Would you spend 16.5 cents each to get the 6 essential steps which a master salesman found most important in selling, or the plans which have proven most successful in job analysis, measurement of work, group bonus, and incentive systems? If you would, then send the enclosed card for the first 6 issues of the new System, Journal of Modern Business Management. For a system has taken on new life, new pep, new interest. You see, we are facing new conditions today. We've been in a rising market, where circumstances made money for many people who could never have made it for themselves. That's past. It's going to take real ability, a thorough grasp of modern management methods, to reach the top or stay there in the period now in front of us. Such inequalities as one manager getting only a third as much from his labor dollar as another will not be tolerated. The man who cannot produce will go the manager, too. The next few years will be hard on drones. They are going to be known as the leveling years, for they will bring down many a man who is now in high place and put the real workers in power, and by workers we mean not those who merely go through the motions, but those who produce. In such a period, every man must look to himself, and system has set the example. The new system is different. It is more practical. It is, in effect, a continuous course in modern business management. It gives to the forward-looking executive the plans, the methods, the letters, the incentive he needs to meet the new competition of today. Will you risk $1 to try it for 6 months? It doesn't matter if you have already taken it for the 6 years you need to read this new system. You'll miss an essential factor in your success if you don't. Will you risk $1 on that? The enclosed card is your answer. Will you send it now today? Sincerely. But merely bringing in the orders is not enough. That is just the first part. The next part is getting paid for them. And it is just as important a problem to write letters that will bring in the payments as it is to get the orders in the first place. So our next chapter will be devoted to collections.